So, hi everyone, good evening. So today we will presenting exercise 7, assignment 2 for visualization. So I will present the question number 2. Use the tool to tell better and clearly narratives. So we doing visualize information such that is correctly displays what is really important and not important at all. And next thing that we do is we use the language which is most commonly used within the business. And then the last one, we use color coding like red, yellow, and green. For example, like red showing attention or danger, and yellow for warning. And then the next one is compressing knowledge and understanding more information in less time. We use framing to build the concise story or purpose. And we use standard language for grouping to reduce assumption on what is related and not related. And then the third one, making personal connection, use narratives triggering emotion related to problems, decision or solution. And then the second point is construct a clear path for stakeholder with a mental image from problems to solution. So the next slide will be presenting by David.
Okay, thank you very much. Next slide, question 3. Discuss what was learned during the lesson. We listed the key points that was learned through the lesson. Find personal connections in data, finding the right details, expectations to see begin and end, how to create dialogue, translate to visuals, how to create a sense of action, how to correct pieces required to build stories in data. And we learned that details matter. Connections, finding narrative arc to connect all stories. We learned also that emotions are important. Interactive elements are important. That's for question 3. For question 4, given the scenario, we came up with the best KPI will be the band arrow, because it shows the values side by side. So we have the numbers by the side, and we also have the arrows going up and coming down. The second alternative KPIs will also be the band color box. So it shows the color box side by side and shows the increase and also the decrease in number. So that's this for question 4. I'll move on to my next colleague to take on question 5. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So this question discusses the narrative structure, the 4 acts of narrative structure. The first one is establisher. It establishes the emotional connection with the stakeholders, and it helps to get the audience inquisitive and have a lot of questions and some new facts, but limited information will be released in this initial step. The next one is initial. It paints a visual picture to stakeholders and eliminates any gaps, and it involves multiple actions to give new facts and information to back up the previous facts, and it repeats previous fact to keep your audience inquisitive. And the content which is released in this step includes new facts, repetition, tension builder, and questions. The next one is peak. It presents options for stakeholders to use to create the ending, and new facts are released in this step also. And audio and visual effects are added to grab attention of the audience. The final one is release, and more facts are released to base on what was already mentioned using repetition, and takeaway questions and messages from audience will be discussed in this step. So moving to my next colleague.
So this slide includes the 2 parts for the question 1. The first part asks that how we can use the first person narrative to present. So we can add a personal perspective, like telling a story with example, which includes our own personal experiences, retelling of events, facts, intentions in a way to keep stakeholders engaged. And we can engage stakeholders to be the part of narrative and to experience it or explore it. TED Talks is an example of it. The next question was how videos can be used to tell the data narrative. So as we know that we can leverage video in data storytelling, and by presenting it in video formats where animations and illustrations can be used to engage audience in different types of changes and comparisons. Information is easier to process when it is being provided in a video format. Plus visual and audio narration helps to grasp the audience attentions much better. So it should contain a core message, present argument supported by the data, at least one data visualization, and follows a narrative format that refers to the previous slide. That is establisher, giving limited information at first by showing a still image or number on the screen. The second, initial, giving a new information and building over that. Then peak, video and audio effects for grabbing audience's attention. Then release, building on what was already mentioned in the previous step and repeating information and visuals so that information is remembered long after the video is over. So the next slide will be presented by Priyanka.
Thanks, Saurabh. So for this thing, we had to have a group discussion, and we have to create a first person and third person version of data narratives. So we have few pointers added here for first person approach and third person approach. So in the first person approach, we establish a clear voice with reference to I, sharing your experiences. Then presenter is a perspective of narrative and stakeholders are they follow along. We use active voice and we decide on tense for the opening line. Whereas in third person narrative, a narrator tells a reader a story referring to the character by names or by third person pronoun like he, she, they. We have to make sure that we choose the best type of third person point of view for our story. Use third person pronoun, switch viewpoint characters strategically, choose viewpoint character carefully, avoid slipping into first person point of view. And we remember that the narrator only knows what the character knows. We have to stay out of everyone's head and present with authority. Now I'll take you through our story with visualization, and I'll use both approaches of first person and third person. So as you see my visualization, you will notice that some of the countries like China, India, they actually produce CO2. But when we compare that with the CO2 emission per capita, it's really significantly low for South Asian countries like India or China. As you look at my visualization, you can see that it shows the CO2 emission per capita from 2008 till 2018. And Latin American region had a steep rise from 2008 to 2010, and from 2008 to 2009, and then there was a drastic decrease from 9 to 2010. And if you look at the North American region, they have reduced the CO2 emissions significantly over the last 10 years. So this completes our presentation and assignment number 2. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you so much for listening.